Hey guys, today I'm filming a first impression and follow-up on the Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation. This is not a new foundation by any means, but this recently went on sale and Tarte actually just added a bunch more shades, so I decided to purchase this. This normally retails for $39 and you can buy it wherever Tarte is sold, on the Tarte website, Sephora, Ulta, and the reason I purchased it is because the Tarte Amazonian Clay Liquid, Stick, and Powder Foundation went on sale for $25, so this was about 40% off, which I thought was an amazing deal. And Tarte did just add a lot more shades to their range, and now there are 40 different shades that go very fair to very deep, and they do have a good mix of undertones throughout. My shade is Fair Sand, which is described as a fair skin with yellow undertone, and on the box on the top it does say the shade name and the shade description, which I think is very helpful for people that aren't able to swatch or aren't looking up shade comparisons. Having fair with a yellow undertone, I know that's me. So I'm going to read you the claims from the Ulta website. It says this provides a natural matte finish and oil control for flawless long wear without clogging pores or sinking into lines, and a cake-free and comfortable formula. It covers redness, acne, and hyperpigmentation without hiding your complexion. This vitamin and Amazonian Clay rich foundation formula restores balance to help improve your skin even when you're not wearing it. And SPF 15 provides broad spectrum protection. And it says there are skin invigorating ingredients, and it says the skin invigorating ingredients would be Amazonian Clay, which is nature's most perfect ingredient for better, longer, truer wear. Vitamin A is an antioxidant that retains moisture and helps protect against free radical damage. Vitamin E is a natural preservative that also acts as an emollient and antioxidant, and mineral pigments soothe and soften the skin. So this sounds like it is supposed to be natural matte finish, and it doesn't say how much coverage on Ulta, but I'm pretty sure on Sephora it said full coverage and it was supposed to be compatible for all skin types, so that's what I'm hoping for. Oil control is amazing. That is what I look for. I also love full coverage, so if you're not familiar with my skin type, I am very oily and I'm also acne prone, and I have a lot of redness on my cheeks, and I like to try to cover it all as best as I can, and I really love full coverage matte foundation, so I'm hoping that is what I will get with this. So to show you the packaging, you have like their standard box, and as I said, the shade name and color descriptions on the top, and then the packaging is a brown squeeze tube, and this comes with 1.7 fluid ounces of product, so that's a lot because your typical foundation only comes with 1 fluid ounce. So the fact that I get a 1.7 fluid ounce foundation for $25 is amazing. So fingers crossed this is still on sale at the time I'm posting this video. If not, I do apologize for that. And then the cap is this little bamboo cap, which is cute and does show up in Tarte's Amazonian Clay lines. They often have that kind of bamboo packaging, so I like this. I think that is very cute. Also on the side here you have a clear window where you can see the actual color of your foundation, and it does come with a seal, which is nice when you're shopping in store, that you can make sure no one has tampered with yours. So as with all of my first impression and follow-ups, I will be applying the foundation on one side with the sponge and the other side with a brush. So I just took off the seal and I'm going to squeeze out a little bit. It is a very thick, moussey consistency, which is a bit about what I expected. I don't always love moussey foundations, but if it's a good shade match and it gives good coverage, then I think I'll probably be okay with it. So I'm just going to dot this on one side of my face. And because this is a squeeze tube, it's super easy to control how much product you get out, which is really nice. So now I have it all dotted on the left side of my face, and I'm going to go in with my Real Techniques sponge and try to blend this in. Most times when I'm using a foundation that's more moussey, it works better with the brush, but we'll see how this works with the sponge. It actually seems like it's blending pretty well, so that's good news. So here's one layer of foundation applied with a sponge versus no foundation. So it definitely did even out my skin tone overall, but I am still able to see quite a bit of redness. So now to the brush side. So now I have it dotted all over this side of my face, and I'm gonna blend it out with my Sigma F80 flat top kabuki brush. So I'm just going to start by pressing it into my skin to help give me the most coverage. The shade match looks really good right now as well. And then I'm going to do some small circular buffing motions, alternating between pressing and buffing. So here is one layer of foundation applied with the sponge versus one layer of foundation applied with a brush. I think the brush definitely did give more coverage, but it isn't that much more than the sponge so far, so I'm going to apply a second layer. So here is 2 layers of foundation applied with the sponge versus 1 layer of foundation applied with the brush. As you can see, it definitely was buildable, and we have a lot more coverage on this side than we do on this side. So now for 2 layers with a brush. So here's what 2 layers of foundation looks like applied with a sponge versus 2 layers of foundation applied with a brush. It definitely was buildable with a brush as well. And when I get close up in the mirror, I can still see more redness and freckling on the sponge side, and I can't really see any on the brush side. So I feel like 2 layers with a sponge gives you solid medium coverage, and 2 layers with a brush gives you solid full coverage. I'm also pretty happy with the shade match. It looks very spot on, very fair, and very yellow. So now I'm going to apply my under eye concealer and under eye setting powder, and I'm going to set my face with a translucent loose powder so it will not give me any color coverage or mattify me. Right now it is 10 a.m. I will check back in with you guys in 4 hours for my first update. So it is 2 p.m. and I am back for my first check-in. I've had this foundation on for a total of 4 hours, and I think it looks really nice. I do not think that it has oxidized at all, and it really matches my neck very well, so I'm really happy with the color. I also think this gives some really nice coverage, but I did want to mention a couple things that I've noticed in the wear and also when I was applying the rest of my makeup. So as I said, I did set my face with a translucent loose powder. I was using the product from Dermablend, which I have used for a very long time with my first impression videos, and I felt like I needed to use so much of that powder to set my skin because this just felt tacky, and I hate that. And then even after I did completely set my face, going back through my oily areas, I still felt oily, but I didn't want to use any other powders to really test this foundation out today. So even though this is supposed to be like an oil control foundation, it seems like this really needs to be set down if you have super oily skin. And because I didn't really use any mattifying powders, I feel like in my oily areas, I'm already starting to feel oily. I think you can see it between my eyebrows. Also, I'm getting a little bit of oil pooling in the creases of my nostrils. I'm feeling oily on my temples and on my chin. I don't think it looks bad, and it hasn't broken down yet, but I am very badly wanting to touch it up with my Rebel Stay Matte powder because I think that would help it so much, but I'm not doing that today. I will do that tomorrow in the follow-up. So I am still really liking this so far. I think it's just a foundation that needs to have mattifying powders with it for my very oily skin. So I am going to check back in with you guys in another 4 hours. Hey guys, I am back for my second check-in. It is 2 p.m. so I've had this foundation on for a total of 8 hours, and I was trying to see if maybe this foundation did oxidize, but the more I'm looking at it, I don't think so. I think it's just when I put my bronzer on, it looks a little dark all over. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it looks the same, and even if it did oxidize, it would have been such a small amount that I'm unsure, and I am always very sure my foundations oxidize on me, and it hasn't broken up yet. I feel like it did wear off a little bit on my chin. I have a lot of oil on the sides of my nose. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really pooling on the sides of my nose and starting to break down a little bit. So my forehead is very shiny as well. I am very excited to wear this tomorrow with my mattifying products and see if it holds up better. So I'm going to take a piece of toilet paper to blot my skin, see if I have any transferring. So here's what a piece of toilet paper looks like. I can see quite a bit of foundation on here, so it definitely does transfer. I'm not that surprised because, as I told you, it was a little bit stickier earlier in the day, and I had to put a lot of powder on to make sure it felt set. And it doesn't look like it necessarily took the foundation off my skin. I think maybe on the sides of my nose, it looks like I can see a little bit more of my skin coming through after I blotted, but it's only because I'm looking really close up that I'm noticing that. Overall, I think my skin looks really nice. I would love to add a little bit of touch-up powder, but I'm not going to. So I do wish this mattified me a little bit more, but for 8 hours without blotting, it actually is holding up pretty darn well. I do have to say that my skin does not feel heavy at all, which is fantastic. So I am going to have a text post at the end of the night once I've had this foundation on for 12 hours to give you my full day wear test, and then I will be back tomorrow for the follow-up where I will be trying out this foundation with a primer and a mattifying setting powder and touching up throughout the day. I cannot wait for tomorrow because I think this foundation is going to work really well with all of my other go-to products. So I will see you guys then. Hey guys, today I am filming the follow-up of the Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. I'm going to be inserting this product into my everyday routine to get a more accurate picture of how this might typically work for me. So I'm going to be applying a primer and a mattifying setting powder, and I will touch up throughout the day whenever I see fit, and I will check back in with you guys halfway throughout the day to give you my final thoughts, and then I will be giving you my full final thoughts on this foundation in a monthly favorites and product updates video once I've been able to test it out for even a longer period of time. So we are going to start with the primers. I am going to apply the Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer all over my skin, and this is just a really nice basic primer. Even though it is silicone, it doesn't feel too greasy and slippery. It just is really smooth on the skin. Then for my large pores, I will be applying the Dr. Brandt Pores No More Primer. So just pressing the product into my pores, sweeping over that towards the outside of my face to smooth it out. And then because I have a little bit extra on my fingers, I'll put it in my forehead wrinkles. Yesterday, I did not notice the foundation settling into them, which is pretty impressive because usually that happens pretty badly for me. So I'll just take the little bit that's left. So yesterday I applied this foundation with a brush and a sponge, and usually in these follow-ups I end up using a sponge because I like that better, but I really just love the coverage more with a brush, and because this is that thicker moussey consistency, it seemed to blend easier with a brush, but then I'll probably go over top with a sponge just to make sure I blend out any brush strokes that might be there, and we will see if the primer makes any difference in the application. I am still having a little bit of resistance when I'm trying to blend this out. I think in the future I'll probably dampen my sponge with a little bit of Matte Fix Plus just to help it blend a little easier. So here's one layer applied with a brush versus no foundation. Here's one layer of foundation applied all over with a brush, and I would say right now we have a light medium coverage because my base is evened out overall, but I am still able to see quite a bit of redness and freckling showing through. So here is 2 layers of foundation applied with a brush versus 1 layer of foundation applied with a brush. So here we have 2 layers of foundation applied all over, and I would say that we have full coverage right now. And I am going to apply my concealer and under eye setting powder off camera, and I'll be back for my face powder. So now to set my face, I'm going to be using this little mixture of the Too Faced Peach Perfect Powder and the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder. I would use the Too Faced on its own, but it does oxidize on me, so I mixed in the Maybelline to counteract that. So hopefully it should not change the look of my foundation. But as I told you guys yesterday, this foundation does stay kind of tacky, and I had to use a decent amount of powder to set it. So today we're using a different powder, and I'm going to be applying it with a damp beauty sponge. So we will see how those 2 factors change how difficult it is to get this foundation set. So just picking some up on my beauty sponge, I'm just going to press this into my skin. And now my face is fully set. It is not at all tacky to the touch. So right now it is 8 a.m. I am going to check back in with you guys about halfway throughout my day to give you my final thoughts. And throughout throughout this time, I will touch up whenever I feel necessary by blotting with one piece of toilet paper and using a little bit of my Rimmel Stay Matte Transparent Powder. Hey guys, I am back to give you my final thoughts on this foundation. It is 2 p.m. so I've had this foundation on for 6 hours, which is about halfway through my typical day. And I did have to touch up after 3 hours in. I started to get oily around the sides of my nose, which was a bit of a bummer. I was hoping that I could stay matte until at least 4 hours, but that was not the case. I did touch up again right before this video, and I didn't really need to blot. I just used a little bit of translucent powder in the oily areas, and that works really well. I think it looks really nice. It didn't seem to oxidize any at all. So for my overall thoughts on this foundation, I do think it is a good one if you like a really full coverage. As I said, it does not feel heavy on my skin, even though it's a moussey foundation, and most moussey foundations do tend to feel very heavy on me. And I am really impressed with the coverage, with the stain power, and I wish it mattified me a little bit more, but it definitely holds up against my oil much better than a lot of other foundations I've tried. So overall, I am really impressed with this. So those are my thoughts as of now, but as I said, I will give you even more finalized thoughts in my July favorites and product updates once I've been able to test this foundation out a little bit more. And if you guys have tried out this foundation, I would love to know your experiences in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.